In order to get rid of gout and not have any more gouty flare-ups, you've got to change your diet and you've got to change your lifestyle, but you've got to do so in the right way. So let's talk about what to do today.
Welcome to the Dr. Ashley Show.
Welcome to the Dr. Ashley Show. I'm Dr. Ashley, and today I am going to dive into a painful topic. That topic is gout. And I decided to devote an entire episode to it because recently everyone that I've talked to, everywhere that I go, it seems, knows someone or is struggling with gout. It's such a painful condition, and there's a lot of misinformation around the topic. So I want to tell you the truth behind how you can avoid these painful gouty flare-ups. And no, it's not avoiding red meat. It's not avoiding purines. It's not avoiding specific vegetables. It's completely different than that. So stick with me and share the love. If you know someone who is struggling with gout or who has struggled with gout in the past, please share this episode with them. You know, in working with PhD weight loss and all of our clients, I've seen quite a few people come into their initial consultation just limping in pain with gout. You know, I remember specifically Bobby coming in and his knee was so swollen, he had to use crutches and he was in the middle of a gouty flare-up. And that's actually what propelled him, motivated him to getting started with PhD and changing his lifestyle and dropping the weight, getting rid of the inflammation because he could not handle the gouty flare-ups anymore. The big toe is a classic spot to develop gout. And I've had many clients, I remember Bob coming in and he had such pain in his toe, and it too was what motivated him. So I wonder if there's anyone listening to this who's been motivated to make lifestyle change due to gout. I want to hear about it. If you're watching it on YouTube today, drop a comment below and tell me about your experiences with gout or others who you know who've had gout and what they've done about it. But, you know, I've had other clients in addition who have come in, and the great news is that through making small changes in their lifestyle, they don't have gouty flare-ups anymore. So I wrote down some names specific who I remember. I had Paul who came in, and in the course of 8 months, he went from 280 pounds to 180 pounds. He dropped 100 pounds in 8 months. And halfway through, he was able to get off all of his gout medications and never had a gouty flare-up during his experience of dropping the weight. Brian, Brett, Scott, Bob, Mary, and Bill all came in the last few months. Well, I would say the last year or so, year and a half, and they started off having gouty flares before they came in. And throughout the process, they were able to either reduce or get off of their gout medication, and none of them had gouty flare-ups during the process of dropping weight. If you have had or you know someone who has had gout, you probably think you need to decrease red meat, you need to decrease purines, you need to decrease seafood, but it's not the case. These are not the culprits of gout whatsoever. There is so much misinformation when it comes to gout. Purines are not the culprit. Red meat is not the culprit. Conventional medical approaches do not get to the root cause of gout issues. If you continue to take medications, for example, you're dealing with the issues at hand, but you're not actually treating the condition. In order to get rid of gout and not have any more gouty flare-ups, you've got to change your diet and you've got to change your lifestyle, but you've got to do so in the right way. So let's talk about what to do today. First, let's dive into what gout actually is. So it is, in a classic sense, accumulation of uric acid crystals in the joint. When we get this accumulation of them in these small areas in the joint, it can lead to a lot of pain and swelling and redness and inflammation. In chatting with my clients who have dealt with gout, it seems as though the joint that is most often affected by gout is a joint that has had the most quote unquote attention from the past. Like if you have stubbed your big toe many times, if you've had surgery in your elbow, if you have arthritis in your knee, you're going to be more likely to find that you have a gouty flare-up in that joint. It's almost like it's predisposed. It's a little bit weak. It's like gout affects and attacks the weakest link, the weakest joint in your body. And we've been taught to avoid red meat, avoid seafood, not eat purines, avoid alcohol, avoid certain veggies, and to eat a low-fat diet if we want to prevent future gouty flare-ups. So it's basically a low purine diet you probably heard about. What happens in the body from a metabolic standpoint is that purines are metabolized into uric acid. So we know that gout supposedly is the accumulation of uric acid crystals in the joint. And if we eat more purines, then we're supposedly going to have higher uric acid, and then the uric acid accumulates in the joint. So that's where we're going with recommending a low purine diet. Less purines results in less uric acid. But alas, the body is much more complicated than that.
Hey guys, just a quick reminder about GlucoCut Plus, my specially formulated supplement to support your metabolism throughout your fat loss journey. With patented ingredients, it aids in consistent weight loss and boosts energy by supporting your thyroid, burning fat, and maintaining lean muscle mass. You know, weight loss can stress your body, but I created GlucoCut Plus to have your back. Visit dr.ashleywellness.com and use code Ashley10 for 10% off your first purchase or 20% off your first subscription order with free shipping. Plus, enjoy a 30-day money-back guarantee. Back to the show.
And it's kind of like the concept of if you eat fat, you get fat, and you have increased cholesterol in the blood. Well, that's not the case. The same thing goes here. So here are some reasons why a low purine diet has no impact on gout. Number one is that you make at least 5 times as much purines in your body endogenously from cell turnover, like the breakdown of DNA and RNA, than you do from getting purines in your diet. So the amount of purines that you get in your diet doesn't even touch the amount of purines that you make in your body naturally during regular cellular turnover. Number 2 is that a diet high in purines increases serum uric acid by only 1 to 2 milligrams. It's a very, very slight increase when you eat more purines. So the process is tightly controlled. And what I mean by that is when you eat an item that's higher in purines, let's say you eat some red meat, your kidneys are going to excrete more of that uric acid. So when a food is also higher in protein, like that red meat example, and it's higher in purines, it actually triggers even greater excretion. So basically the body adjusts and counters for the mild rise in blood levels. And a blood level rise of 1 to 2 milligrams isn't going to induce a gouty flare-up. It's not significant enough. And number 3 is that a lot of folks actually have high uric acid levels in the body and they don't have gouty flare-ups. My husband, Dr. Doug, he works from a functional medicine standpoint and he gets uric acid levels tested in a lot of people. And when I was creating the material for this episode, I was talking to him about uric acid. He's like, oh my gosh, like over half of the people that I see have high levels of uric acid and they don't have gout. So what is going on here? Something else must be going on. What is it? Well, let's talk about some truths now associated with gout. Number 1 is that gout is caused from inflammation. Inflammation is the problem, and you've got to rid your body of inflammation through your diet and through lifestyle. Number 2 is that fructose plays a really big role in gout. The reason why is because fructose goes directly to the liver to be metabolized. Now, fructose is 50% of table sugar, right? Table sugar is sucrose, and sucrose is made up of 50% fructose and 50% glucose. So that means that fructose is pretty omnipresent because it's also in fruit juice, it's in pop, high concentration of sweet fruits like mango, banana, pears. Those fruit cups, especially when the fruit cup is in there with its own juice, that's all just a ton of sugar, a ton of fructose. It's in dried fruits and raisins and dried mango. So all of this fructose, it gets metabolized in the stomach and the intestines, and then it's delivered right to the liver. We see that when fructose is metabolized right to the liver, it actually pushes uric acid up significantly. It also pushes insulin levels up, which leads to inflammation. So when you take in fructose, you got high levels of uric acid mixed with high levels of inflammation, and that's what can create the perfect storm of a gouty flare-up. Now, in a recent study, they looked at fructose consumption in high levels, which we know that when we look at the standard American diet, we're eating fructose in high levels. And we found that uric acid levels increased by almost 20%. That's a big number, and the excretion in urine decreased by 10%. Another truth is that chronic increased insulin levels in the body is not good. We know that that leads to inflammation. And how do we reduce chronic levels of insulin? Well, we decrease our carbohydrate intake from all of the varied sources. Number 4 is we do know that alcohol is bad, and beer is the very worst. Remember that alcohol also, like fructose, goes straight to the liver for metabolism. And when you have alcohol in conjunction with a lot of carbs that spike insulin, like beer, I always say beer is like liquid bread, it also creates a perfect storm for a gouty flare-up. And another truth is that coffee can also be helpful in increasing uric acid excretion. So now you can see why these myths just don't make sense. So this is why you don't need to follow a low purine diet. It's why you don't need to eat a ton of fruits and cherry juice and lots of high sweet fruits. It's why you don't need to take a pill to fix a deficiency. It's not a deficiency issue. It's an inflammation issue. It's why you don't need to take any pills or powders or specific gout supplements. That's not going to help. It's why you don't need to worry about the blood becoming acidic. That has nothing to do with gout. And you don't need to eat a low-fat diet. Actually, eating fat has nothing to do with gouty flare-ups whatsoever. I have no idea where our recommendations came up with that one. So the steps that you need to take to avoid gouty flare-ups. Number 1 is you need to drop weight. Gout is associated heavily with obesity and being overweight. Remember the belly fat? I've talked a lot about it in previous episodes, but that belly fat called visceral fat is significantly linked to increased inflammation in the body. Remember, the belly fat cells are active. They secrete hormones like interleukin-6, and interleukin-6 is linked with a whole host of negative health consequences, increases inflammation, and that leads to increased insulin resistance. We have elevated then insulin levels in the body, and it creates the exact environment that we need to support a gouty flare-up. Avoid alcohol, specifically beer. You want to work on reducing insulin levels by following a lower carbohydrate, reduced carbohydrate diet. Number 4 is you want to reduce fructose, high fructose corn syrup, juice, pop, sugar-sweetened sweet fruits. Table sugar in general is not going to serve you. Number 5 is that you want to reduce sugar and grains because these guys convert to glucose and fructose. That significantly increases uric acid levels alone and increases insulin, which leads to inflammation. Number 6 is you want to be consistent. You don't want to be in and out of fat burn because that can cause an attack. When you follow a diet or lifestyle that drops you into the safe state of fat burn, and you follow that for a few weeks, and then you go off the plan wildly and you eat whatever you want and you add those carbs and junk foods and sweet foods back in, it's a huge stress on the body. So you just want to make sure that when you are ready to change your lifestyle, you're ready to be disciplined and consistent with your plan. That acts as a form of self-respect to the body. You're giving your body time to heal. I want you to think that the inflammation in the body is just similar to healing a sprained ankle. Let's say you give your ankle 4 days to heal, which isn't likely long enough depending on the severity of the sprain. But then you go right back out and start hiking the mountain again. The sprain is going to come back and it's going to come back worse. The inflammation and process of dropping weight is very similar, so you've got to be consistent and disciplined. I will tell you that you will be at a very high risk of a gouty flare-up if you do your healthy lifestyle inconsistently. That's a big thing. And number 7 is you want to focus on reducing inflammation, so decreasing seed oils, vegetable oils like canola oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, even grapeseed and rapeseed. You want to get those out of the diet. Instead, you're going to focus on avocado oil, coconut oil, extra virgin, first cold-pressed olive oil. Those are the best fats for a low-inflammatory diet. You'll focus on sleep and reducing stress. Magnesium is actually a supplement that most of us, about 75% of us, are deficient in. You want to make sure that you're getting adequate magnesium. And your body can absorb different forms of magnesium in different ways. So it's best if you attack your magnesium deficiency by taking different types of forms of magnesium. I like magnesium glycinate, threonate, and malate are the best. And you can take different forms of that. And then focusing on potassium intake, which you can take through a supplement, or you can find foods that are high in potassium. Avocado, your veggies, and your meats and organ meats will help you get all the potassium that you need. And then coffee, like I mentioned earlier, will help to excrete excess uric acid. And then actually low levels of oxygen in the blood can induce elevated levels of uric acid as well. So sleep apnea, which a lot of us experience when we're dealing with overweight and obesity. So make sure if you suspect that you deal with sleep apnea, get treated for it, wear a CPAP machine, or even more exciting, you can go through the process of dropping weight and not need to use one of those cumbersome, uncomfortable machines and reverse your sleep apnea altogether, which we see happen for folks all the time at PhD. All right, so I hope that you found some great value in understanding the truth behind why gout happens and what you can do about it. Remember to share this episode with anyone you know who struggles with gout because it is so painful. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, please leave a review and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe as well and drop a comment below. I want to hear about your experience with gout and if any of this surprised you. And remember, you've got to step up to make a change. Lead with your heart, train your mind, and do not negotiate with your body. I'll see you next time.